Beautiful people. Beautiful people. Hello. Welcome. We got Kate first in chat. We got B behind Kate. What is up, guys? Hi. Hello. Yo, yo. Hello. Hello. What's up, Jennifer, Ivan? What is up, everybody? Welcome. 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 Hope you're all doing fantastic. Rebecca, welcome. Hello. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be talking about when anxiety turns into panic, or how anxiety turns into panic. The slippery slope, right? That's what it feels like. The slippery slope of anxiety and panic. Interesting subject. Just had a panic attack this morning. Well, welcome. Being full on crazy today, so need this. Well, hello. Jen, hello. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Hope you're all doing well. We won't wait around too long before we get started. Hope you're all doing well. Let's see, we've already sent out our notifications. What's up, Kayla? What's up, M? Hello. We got a full chat already, so we should be able to get started in just a moment. How are you doing, M? How are you doing? How are you doing? Alright, guys, let's see. I think we can go ahead and get this one rolling. Chat is coming out today. Chat is full. Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting subject indeed. When or how rather anxiety turns into panic. Now right off the bat, I just want to say I'm not denying the fact that panic can happen pretty randomly at times, or come on pretty quickly at times. I'm not denying that. So right away, I want to make that very clear. But 9 times out of 10, anxiety turns into panic, and that's exactly what we're going to be focused on today. We got Pandemonium in the chat. What's up, dude? We got Crystal, Mallory, M. What's up, guys? Welcome. So yeah, I'm not denying the fact that panic can come on pretty suddenly, or what you would call randomly at times, especially if you deal with panic quite often, or if you deal with a sensitized nervous system. But regardless, we're gonna talk about how you tackle that. But yeah, how anxiety turns into panic. The subject of today's stream. Chat is already so full. Let's go ahead and just jump right into this one, guys. All right. I want to start off by making it very, very clear that, again, yes, panic can come on randomly at times. It can almost happen what feels like suddenly. But 9 times out of 10, anxiety turns into panic. So here's what happens, right? We're just going to go through sort of the basic beginning and the middle and the end of this entire sequence of events. So what happens is anxiety comes on, right? Whether that's because you have a tired nervous system, whether that's because you've been worrying and ruminating, same thing, all day long, and you have worked yourself up into a pretty emotional anxiety state, right? But one way or another, anxiety is there, regardless of the cause, whether it's continued worry and rumination, tired nerves, maybe you're doing an exposure, right? Hello, Edward and Lewis and Craig. Welcome to the chat, guys. But anxiety is there, one way or another. And once you enter into that territory where anxiety is there, now if you're sensitized, you're probably thinking anxiety is there for me most of the time. And yes, I agree with that too. That is true. And a lot of people who are sensitized do not necessarily deal with panic, right? But again, let's get back to the point here. How does anxiety turn into panic? So anxiety is there, right? And let's say you're sensitized, so it's there most of the time. Okay, but let's say you do something that puts yourself out there a little bit. Let's say for some reason or another the anxiety is higher than it normally is, right? So if you're sensitized, you've always got sort of this baseline anxiety, but let's say for one reason or another the anxiety is higher than it typically is. Now what happens is you are dealing with slippery territory at that point, because if you do not keep yourself grounded, right? Which means anxiety is there and it's intense, it's higher than it normally is for you. It starts to get into that territory of could possibly turn into panic. What happens is people do not keep themselves grounded within that high intense anxiety, right? They do not keep themselves grounded, and they send all of these extra danger signals directly to their brain, right? So the anxiety is there, more intense than you're used to, and you start to enter into this slippery territory where you begin to tell yourself things like, this is a little too much, this is a little too intense, wasn't expecting this, I don't like this is getting a little bit out of hand. You slowly start to enter into this territory of panic, and then without even knowing it, without even really knowing it and holding yourself accountable and responsible, you turn that anxiety into panic. You turn that anxiety into panic. So a lot of people have this view of panic that is something that attacks them. It's something that comes and is trying to make them the victim. It is something that is a monster or a beast that just comes out of nowhere and just totally ruins their day, right? But 9 times out of 10, you are the creator of that panic, right? You are the creator of that panic. You turn your intense anxiety symptoms, and yes, I know the anxiety itself can be very intense at times, but you turn that intense anxiety into the problem. You turn that intense anxiety into the issue. You turn that intense anxiety into panic. So panic is like the boiling point, is one way to look at panic. Panic is like the point where your brain says, hey, you have really freaked me out with what you're telling yourself. So intense anxiety is there. You start worrying about it. You start telling yourself things like, oh God, what is it? What's going to happen? Is this going to turn into something? You start worrying about the intense anxiety, and panic is the boiling point where your brain basically says to itself, okay, I cannot handle you freaking me out anymore. There must really be a serious issue here. There must really be a serious threat or a serious problem. Let's go into full-blown panic, right? So panic is that tipping point where your brain has made the decision that you have freaked it out enough, right? You have freaked it out enough with your worry, with your second fear, whatever you want to call it. You have freaked it out enough that it has decided that the best course of action is to give you full-blown panic, because at this point there must really be a problem. Right? At this point, there must really be a problem. So that's what happens. You get this intense anxiety for one reason or another, right? Maybe it's out of your norm. You're not used to it being that intense. It's whatever. And you basically, through what you tell yourself in your resistance, get to the point where you tell your brain, okay, it's time to enter into panic because there is a serious problem here. And the brain doing exactly what you tell it to do, right? Again, and this is where we get into you're not the victim. The brain doing exactly what you tell it to do is going to enter into that panic. Right? So you've got your foot on the gas and you are pressing the alarm over and over and over again with what you tell yourself. You got intense anxiety outside of your norm for one reason or another. You start putting your foot on the gas and pressing that alarm. So anxiety says, okay, we're going to turn into panic. We're going to turn into panic because you won't shut the fuck up. Right? So that's what happens. That's what happens. And the reason it's so important to know that, is because there's a large majority of people out there who are still playing the role of this is something that is attacking me. This is something that is out to ruin my life. This is something that is here to beat me up and drag me through the mud and drag me through the dirt, and I am the victim of this thing. They don't realize they are the manufacturer and the creator of that panic. Anxiety turns into panic. And again, disclaimer, because I know there's going to be comments that say, well, I get panic sort of. Yes, you can experience certain degrees of panic, right? Kind of what feels like randomly at times. But you must understand that 9 times out of 10, and even if you do experience a little bit of panic sort of randomly, you're still responsible for whether or not you turn that into even more panic, right? So there's different severities, there's different levels that go into the panic. And I'm telling you, one way or another, you are the creator of the panic, or you are the creator of the panic being as severe as it is, right? So you have to step out of this victim mentality, because if you don't, and you don't take accountability and responsibility for the fact that you are the creator and the manufacturer of your panic, or at least the continued panic or the severity of the panic, if you don't take accountability and responsibility for that, you're always going to have this mindset of panic is something that is outside of me, that is attacking me, and with that mindset you will create more. With that mindset, you're already telling the brain there's some sort of problem here. With that mindset, you're already defeated, right? So that's why it's so important to understand how anxiety turns into panic, right? And again, let's say maybe it comes sort of random or out of nowhere. Well, it's important to understand that you are the creator of turning that panic into a big deal. You are the creator of the continued panic. You are the creator of the panic being more intense or severe or intense than it has to be. At some point, that realization has to be made, because again, how does anxiety turn into panic, guys, right? Anxiety turns into panic with what you tell yourself. So if you're fighting with those thoughts, if you're ruminating over those thoughts or those symptoms, the anxiety is there and it feels pretty intense, and you're telling yourself things like, oh God, this is going to turn into something, and oh God, what will I do, and oh God this, and oh God that, and oh God this, you are creating the very situation that you are trying to avoid. And again, unless you take accountability and responsibility for that, you will always be the victim of something that you are doing, right, to yourself. You will always be the victim of that. And if you are the victim of that, there's really no way we can move forward at that point. There's really just no way that we can possibly progress at that point. And that is why it's so crucial and fundamental and important for there to be an attitude change. There has to be an attitude change. You can watch all the videos you want to watch. You can read all the books and the forums that you want to read. But as long as you see yourself as the victim of this thing and not the creator of this thing, then you are in trouble, right? You are in trouble because, and I'll tell you why you're in trouble. How could you possibly start to retrain your brain if you do not take accountability and responsibility for the fact that you are the manufacturer and the creator of these levels of panic, and that you can really, when panic comes in, you know, sensitization, tired nerves, it takes time to heal those, but panic itself needs to be, it needs to be realized that you can rather quickly, when you feel panic coming on, ground yourself, tell yourself the right things like, hey, you know what? This is here, that's fine, I can handle this. At some point, you have to realize that you can put a stop rather quickly to this panic escalating, or to this panic turning into something bigger than it needs to be, like more intense panic, right? So if you're always playing the role of victim, you will never get to that point, right? I can promise you that. You'll never get to that point where you're able to put a stop to this escalating panic, because you're never going to face and accept it as long as you think that it's something outside of you that is attacking you. You can't possibly face and accept and ground yourself during moments of intense anxiety and panic if you truly believe that it's something that's out to get you or attacking you. So that needs to be addressed before we can do anything, right? The fact that you are playing the victim, which, you know, we've all been there, right? I've been there. But the fact that you are playing the victim, or you have that victim attitude or mindset, has to be addressed before we can do anything. We can't work with your panic. We can't work to face panic. We can't work to accept panic. We can't do any of that until the attitude has changed. Right, so the underlying sort of belief that you're the victim of panic and that you're not the creator of it, which you are, that has to be addressed. Okay, and again, I know panic can come on sort of randomly or suddenly for some people, but you are creating the intensity of it. You're making it worse. So until that's addressed, until we get the attitude change that says, I'm not a victim, this is something I'm creating, or at least something that I'm keeping alive when it comes to panic and panic attacks, until we can address that, we can't really work with it. Until the attitude of the victim is addressed and understood and gotten rid of, right, and you work on that, then we can't work on facing your panic. It's just not going to happen. You take somebody who believes that they are being attacked by panic and that they have no responsibility whatsoever when it comes to how severe their panic is, and there's nothing they can do about it. If you take somebody with that attitude and mindset, you can't work with that person. No matter what you tell that person, no matter how many videos they watch, no matter how many streams they watch, no matter how many forums they read, they will not make progress as long as the attitude is, I'm being attacked. How could they possibly make progress against their panic attacks if that is the attitude, because before we've even gotten started with the work and the practice, you are already sending danger signals. So it's pointless. It's pointless to try to work with yourself or somebody if the underlying attitude is I'm a victim of my panic, because we just can't work with that. There's no moving forward if that is the attitude, right? So I need you guys to understand more than anything that how does anxiety turn into panic? Anxiety turns into panic because for some reason or another you are experiencing intense anxiety, right? For some reason or another, and then you get into your head about it and you're not keeping yourself grounded. You're not using that face it and accept it attitude. You're not telling yourself, accepting things. You're telling yourself very negative, second fear, worrisome things. So we have to, in order to work with that and get you to practice not doing those things, the first thing we got to do is eliminate the victim mindset, because you can't do anything with that. So how does anxiety turn into panic? It's because you don't know that you are playing victim and telling yourself things, right? More importantly, telling your brain things that turns that intense anxiety into panic or continued panic, okay? Because you don't know that. You're playing victim. So the whole time you're sending danger signals, which is creating the very thing that you're trying not to experience, right? So it's very ironic in a way. So how does anxiety turn into panic? Anxiety turns into panic because you are giving in to the temptation to worry. You are giving in to the temptation to go down the rabbit hole with these feelings that you're feeling. You are giving in to the temptation to send more danger signals on top of the ones that are already there. And again, this stems directly from the victim mentality. It stems directly from the victim mentality. Okay, so if we're going to work on this, again, sensitization takes time to heal your nerves, takes time for your brain to catch up. But if we're going to work on panic attacks specifically, the number one thing we have to do is get out of the victim mindset. Once you have done that and you've accepted that, wait a minute, he's right, I am responsible for my panic or my continued panic, or, I need to greet this with a better attitude, a better mindset. Once you have done that, then we can talk about things like, okay, so when the panic comes on, what do? You ground yourself. You tell yourself, you know what, I've been here before. Just going to let this be, right? And I know everything inside your body is screaming. It's so intense. You feel like you're going to lose your mind. You feel like you're going to go crazy. I'm not underestimating how intense these feelings are. But again, the practice, regardless, we can talk about how strong they are all day long. That's irrelevant. Regardless, the fact remains that we don't want to tell your brain anything along the lines of I'm in trouble. We don't want to do that. That is the goal, to get away from telling your brain that you're in trouble. So any sort of negativity, any sort of second fear, which basically just means negativity or worry, right? Any of that stuff has to go, and it has to be, your new accepting inner voice has to be stronger than the old one, and that's something that we practice over time. You face that panic, you accept that panic, you keep yourself grounded with that accepting inner voice, and you watch it come and you watch it go. So again, if we're going to get to the point where we practice that, the first thing that needs to happen is you need to realize that there is not a monster or a beast that is outside of you attacking you. In fact, you are the creator and the manufacturer of panic, and you are the reason that it thrives and survives. So, those are sort of the two steps there. We change the victim mentality into the accepting mentality. Hey, I'm responsible for this. And then once that's done, the next step is to actually put that into action, to put that into practice. Now, again, I'm not underestimating, guys, just how strong your symptoms are. I've been there. I'm not underestimating how scary it can be, but the point remains that we can talk about how scary and frightening it is all day long. That doesn't really get us anywhere. I'd rather talk about what we can do to work with that. I'd rather talk about what we can do to change that, okay? Because if you notice, there's a trend, there's an ongoing trend where people like to get online and talk about how horrible their anxiety and panic is. Okay, you can do that all day long, every day, for the rest of your life. That doesn't get us any closer to the practice. That doesn't get us any closer to doing what needs to be done. You are responsible for your recovery. So technically, yeah, you can get online and you can talk about how horrible your anxiety symptoms are. And I know they are. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying they're not intense. I'm not saying they're not strong. You are a very strong person for dealing with this thing up until this point. But my point is, We've been there. We've talked about how bad it is. We've talked about how uncomfortable it is. We've talked about how strong it is. We can continue doing that for absolutely no good reason whatsoever. Or we can say, okay, it's time to take responsibility. It's time to say, you know what, I've played the role of victim for so long. I've got my points, I've got my sympathy from people, and now I really need to take accountability and responsibility for this. I need to hold myself accountable for what I tell myself. I need to hold myself accountable for the way I react to panic. I need to hold myself accountable for the way I view fear. Right? So, again, we can talk all day long about how uncomfortable it is. Everybody already knows that. Everybody in this chat already knows how uncomfortable it is. I know how uncomfortable it is. Everybody in this chat knows how scary it is. We can talk about that all day long. It's not going to get you any closer to feeling any better, right? So we've already covered that. We've covered that it's strong. We've covered that it's not fun. We've covered that, yes, it's not the greatest feeling in the world. Why am I getting darker? Weird. We've covered that, right? That's all because my light is dying. That would explain it. But we've covered that already, right? We've covered all of the how intense it is and yada yada yada. At some point, you got to sit down and say, okay, I watched that stream today. He told me that anxiety turns into panic because of the way that I react to it, what I tell myself. I need to work on that accepting inner voice, facing and accepting. I need to work on cutting that worry and, yada, yada, yada. At some point, we got to come to that. I've said that twice today. I really will like the way that sounds, yada, yada, yada. At some point, we got to come to the realization that, okay, it's enough of the victim crap. It's enough of complaining about how horrible my life is. It's enough of, because here's the thing. And I know this is slowly turning into a stream about not being a victim, but this is really the number one thing you need to hear when it comes to overcoming your panic, because the victim mentality is what's doing this to you. Here's the thing. The more you tell yourself, whether it's online to your friends, whether it's in the support chat, whether it's just in your own head, the more you tell yourself, oh, my life is so horrible and I've been struck with this horrible thing and these horrible symptoms and they're just so intense and they're so scary and I don't know what I can do about them. It's in those moments that you are creating the panic to come. It's in those moments that you are creating the panic to come, right? It's in the moments where you're playing victim that you are inviting in more of the same, because all those victim words are going straight to the amygdala. They're going straight to the brain. You're telling the brain there's a problem, there's a danger, there's a threat. Every time you play the role of victim, you're going up here and you're telling the brain, I want more of this anxiety. I want more of the panic. I want more, because what you're doing is every time you tell yourself, oh, my life is just so horrible and I can't stand it and these feelings are so strong and so intense. And every time you do that, you're telling the brain, please fuck me up with more anxiety because there's a problem here. Every message that you send to the brain about there being a problem is going to be translated by the brain as they need more anxiety. And then you get more anxiety, and then it turns into panic and turns into all these different things. And now you're telling yourself, oh, God, it's really bad now. It's really so horrible now. And that goes straight up to the brain, and the brain says, oh, they must be in trouble. They don't know. The brain doesn't know you're worried about anxiety or panic. It just knows that you're worried. So here it goes. You've created stronger anxiety for yourself. You've created more intense panic for yourself. And now you're really up in your head saying things like, oh, God, it's just so bad now. It's so horrible. My life is so horrible. So now you're creating more. The brain's giving you more. And it's a never-ending cycle. It's a never-ending cycle. And that's why when, I came on here, I said, look, if we're going to even talk about panic or how to overcome panic, the victim stuff's got to stop. It's got to stop completely, because if that doesn't stop, it's just going to be this constant back and forth of you telling yourself all of this BS that then gets translated by the brain as there's a problem, and then you get more of the same, right? So that's why some people can say, oh, you're a little bit too straightforward. You're a little bit too blunt when it comes to that. Look, I don't care if it's blunt or straightforward. If it saves somebody the trouble of having to deal with this thing for the rest of their life because they won't stop being a victim, I don't care how hurt their feelings get. I don't care if they want to boo-hoo, Wonder Bro is just this asshole. Okay, I'll be an asshole. I'll be a prick. I don't give a shit. If it saves you the trouble of having to deal with this bullshit for the rest of your life, somebody needs to tell you to stop playing victim, because here's what it comes down to. Here's the reality at the end of the day. No matter how you want to word it, at the end of the day, if you don't stop playing victim, you're not going to recover, period. period. I'm sorry, but somebody has to tell you that. Because again, do you see the cycle? Do you see the cycle? Can I see a show of hands in chat? Does everybody see what I'm getting at? As long as you play victim, then you're going to speak like a victim. And as long as you speak like a victim, you're going to get more anxiety. That's the end of the story, because speaking like a victim tells the brain that there's a problem. And when you tell the brain there's a problem, it responds one way, the only way it knows how, with more anxiety. So if we keep speaking like a victim, you can forget about recovery. You can forget about it. You can forget about it. There's no world that we live in where you can recover when you speak like a victim, because when you speak like a victim, you tell the brain there's a problem, and when you tell the brain there's a problem, you get more anxiety. So there's no world that we live in where you can recover while also speaking like a victim. It's never going to happen. It won't happen. I don't care how bad you want it. I don't care how much you dislike the anxiety. I don't care how desperate you are. There's no world where we live in where you can speak like a victim and recover. The two worlds will not, do not, have never, will never exist together. They will never coexist, right? So, you know, there is a handful of people out there who will hear this message and they'll translate that as, he doesn't understand what I'm going through. Been there, done that, peed in those bottles. I peed in the bottles. I've been so bad off, right? And there's going to be a handful of people out there that watch this stream and said, and they're going to stomp their little feet and they're going to throw the fist in the air and my life is so horrible and he just doesn't get it. And look, unless somebody tells you that you can't recover as long as you speak like a victim, then you're going to continue to speak like a victim and you're going to continue to not make any progress towards your anxiety. So if I have to play the bad guy and tell you to stomp your little feet and get mad because you want to play the okay, well, so be it. You're here because you want to recover, correct? Or you wouldn't be wasting your time on the stream. You're here because you want to heal, correct? Or you wouldn't be wasting your time watching me right now. So you can stomp your little feet and get mad, but the point is, this is just facts. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to hear it or not, if you continue to speak like a victim, you'll continue to not make any progress on your recovery, because speaking like a victim tells your brain that there is a problem, and that is how anxiety turns into panic. 9 times out of 10, intense anxiety, strong anxiety comes on. You tell yourself these god-awful things because you're still playing the role of the victim. You're going to turn it into panic, all right? Now, that's not the case for everybody. Like I said, a lot of people dealing with sensitization do not deal with panic attacks. The two can be different, right? You can deal with panic attacks and not be sensitized. You can be sensitized, not deal with panic attacks. But regardless, you know, even though the point of the stream was really to talk about panic, I think we covered a lot of helpful topics today. And I want to make very clear that the whole victim mentality thing, that absolutely applies to sensitization as well, right? We basically went over 2 topics today, panic attacks and the victim mentality. But yes, that absolutely, the whole rant about the victim attitude, the victim mentality, that 100% applies to your sensitization journey as well. All right, you guys. So with that being said, we've ranted for a good solid half hour, 30 minutes now. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. We did get a couple tips while we were mid-rant. We got a $5 tip from Craig. Thank you so much, Craig, for the $5 tip. And then we got a $5 tip, or $11, or a $6. Where's my mind? A $6 tip. I don't want to say their last name, but if that was you, please take credit for that. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's everything. So we're at 11 on our 22-day tip goal. Thank you guys so much. We're going to read comments and get caught up here. We still got Steph in here and B. We got Mint in the house. Let's see. Victim mentality will keep you stuck 100%. I've been on this channel for 9 months, and once I learned that, it was a game changer. And thanks, Chris. Absolutely, Crystal. It will keep you stuck because there's no way you can heal with the victim mentality. You're going to be sending way too many danger signals, which is the point here with the victim mentality, right? I'm afraid of panic. I'm afraid of panic. These are just thoughts. Yes, you don't have to identify with it. Start telling yourself accepting things. In time, this message will feel real. Absolutely, gamer. Let's see. What advice to stop ruminating? You 100% need to check out the stream. It's called The Temptation to Ruminate, I believe, or yeah, it's something along those lines. It was a stream we did last, or the day before that. If you're worried or if you're ruminating about ruminating, I 100% recommend you check out that stream. I've done a thumbs up like for Wonder Bro. Yes, thank you for the thumbs up, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see. I'm on some kind of, it's on some kind so funny that brain don't realize that he is scaring himself. Most sophisticated thing in universe, but not smart enough to understand to scare the shit out of himself. Well, you're scaring the shit out of it, right? Again, we got to take full recovery. I get what you're saying. You're saying, oh, the brain should realize. Well, that's your fault, right? I get what you're saying. The brain should realize that it shouldn't be afraid of what you are telling it. I get that, but you have to take responsibility for what you're telling it, right? CAS, cognitive attention, is worry, rumination, threat monitoring, which is basically what we call second fear here. Yes, absolutely. We use all kinds of terms: worry, rumination, second fear. It is when you pay very close attention to those thoughts and then try to examine them and break them down and solve them and figure them out, right? Which is, again, not accepting. If you accept a thought, that means the thought comes in, it lasts about 2.5 seconds, and you say, okay, and you don't ruminate any further than that. You don't get up there and try to solve it or pay really close attention to it. You just say, okay, and you accept it. It is what it is, whatever it says, and you don't get into the things like the rumination, and you have to rinse and repeat that quite a bit, right? Guys, show some love in the chat, by the way. Show some love for our 2 tips today from Craig. And that other $6 tip, if that was you, please take credit for it. Thank you guys so much. We're on a 22-day streak. If you'd like to support the stream, link is in the description. But absolutely, your therapist sounds like a winner, Mint, and that is awesome. Yep, anxiety causes fear, but it's your fear of fear that is the issue. All right, guys, give me just a second. Keep asking your questions. We'll be right back. All right. All right, let's see what we got here. At some point, you just get sick and tired of feeling this way. My worry since a couple days ago has dropped immensely. I'm done with this shit. And the glimpse I got yesterday showed me that further. Yeah, at some point you realize that you can sit and ruminate on thoughts and feelings pretty much all day long, and most people do, right? But at some point you also realize how pointless that is, and you begin to hold yourself responsible for that. Getting tired of my own shit, yes. Started watching the stream, got caught talking basketball with a coworker. I guess normal life comes back slowly. It does. The point of the therapy. The point of the therapy I'm starting. I fucked up the comments. Here we go. The point of the therapy I'm starting now is to reduce, eliminate. I'm excited to do this therapy, but I also know I'm the one who has to do the work. Yes, I've only been trying to get you to do that for 3 years now, but I'm glad that was the pushing point. Let's see. I got a thought last night saying, well, maybe I'm not as well off as I think I am. Maybe I'm still pretty screwed up. I fell into it for a minute, and then I pulled myself back out like, no, exactly. I worked hard for this shit. So you can ruminate about rumination, right? Which is what it sounds like. Am I really where I want to be? Am I recovering? Am I doing the right? That is just rumination in disguise. That is just a sneaky form of rumination, right? What about when you sleep and not ruminating on anything in the middle of the night? Bam! It wakes you up near panic for no reason. Did you experience that? Yes. Tired nerves. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, there doesn't have to be a particular reason that your anxiety gets set off. Intense anxiety when you are sensitized doesn't have to be a particular reason for that. But again, the work still applies. The same work still applies, right? Same work still applies. Leave Mint alone. I love Mint. I am excited for Mint. I'm excited for anyone, no matter what the cause is, no matter who tells them, no matter where they find the inspiration and the motivation to finally do the work. I am excited for anyone. Let's see. What does this look like? Oh, this looks horrible over here. This looks absolutely horrible. Have to work on that later. I wake up arguing with my dreams in my mind, and then you snap out of it and go, what the fuck am I doing? Can you explain what a Discord is? I'm a little new to this. So, the Discord is basically a chat room. That's probably the best way to describe it. It's basically a chat room. To be fair, with our Discord for Vacate Fear, you'll probably leave it feeling more anxious than you are going into it. It's not a support chat room. It's not a support chat room at all. We just bully each other over there. I'm really selling the Discord, aren't I? I'm really selling it. We are really selling it today. I've realized that I've been avoiding rest and exhausting myself being busy because I got anxiety. As soon as I rest, I'm now resting and facing the feelings head on and hopefully not ruminating during, right? Perfect practice, Olivia. Perfect practice. That's not true. That's not true. We don't kiss ass over there. If you want to be baby, then it's probably not for you. Probably not. Probably not for you. Discord is like a community chat room. There are different chats on our Discord where you can share about hobbies, pets, etc. And then there's a sport channel where you can ask for advice. Yes, yes. You will be called out if it becomes a reoccurring theme, like reassurance sinking. Everybody on the Discord holds everybody accountable, which is really nice. Which is really nice. Stilettos, what is up? Welcome to the stream. You guys can drop the link to the Discord again for anybody who wants to join us over there. I'm just excited for NS to get his baseball game set up. Yeah, I don't know if there's any way that you can stream from Xbox directly to Discord. There might be. There might be. I mowed Wonder Bros lawn yesterday, and now I have burnout syndrome. I stitched some jeans together, and now I have burnout syndrome. Two can play that game, Mitt. Anyone who views these streams without context, which that's where you'll find the context is the Discord, they're probably so confused. The Discord is accept and allow mobile version. Rumination is a habit of mine that I'm trying to break. Leaving those thoughts alone is so hard, but I've done it before. I can do it again. Exactly, 110%. It's very tempting. Like I said, the stream that we did on temptation is I think, very crucial and important because that's really what you're up against at the end of the day. Discord made my anxiety much worse. What's up, David? I'm glad the Discord could help you out. Glad you enjoyed it. There's a Kate yells at Steph channel for talking about anxiety info. She reads, there's also one where Maddie tries to force everyone into a voice chat to show their faces. Yeah, something like that. That sounds about right. That sounds about right. Maddie will take notes on you. She will, 100%. To be fair, if there's like a ton of, like, if you're the kind of person who will read everything, and this is just to back up David's point, if you're the kind of person who will go to the Discord and read everybody's issues in support chat and then apply it to yourself, you probably shouldn't be on the Discord. But also, to be fair to the Discord, it is the kind of place where you will get straightforward advice and you will be called out if you turn it into a problem, which means if you're constantly doing the same thing or asking the same things over and over again, you will be called out on it, and you won't be allowed to do that. So I can see both sides of the fence. I can see both sides of the fence here. But I guess a lot of it does come down to holding yourself responsible for not sitting there and reading everybody else's issues and then ruminating about that. Because if you're doing that, that's something you should be working on, right? That's something you should be working on. So I don't know. I can see it. I can see it from both perspectives. I can see it from both perspectives, definitely. It is pretty cozy, Mint. My goals is to be on the Discord success story section and move on with my life. Absolutely. Where is Maddie? She's probably, what, asleep at this time? Probably has to work tonight. We got about 15 left in this stream, guys. About 15 left in this stream if you've got any questions. We definitely try to run the Discord a bit differently than like, let's say, forums and stuff like that. It's a lot different than that. I guess the way to look at it is, if you don't feel like you can hold yourself responsible and accountable for not ruminating on things that you might see in support chat or whatever, if you don't think you can hold yourself accountable for that, then you should probably just not get on it until you feel like you can. But other than that, yeah, we got about 15 guys, about 15. I don't think we're hitting the streak today, which is fine. 22-day streak. But with that being said, Luis mentioned the roof goal. We need to get back on those. I just don't know when. I just don't want it to be overwhelming to you guys, right? I don't want to do those like constantly, because I feel like that would just be overwhelming and burn people out, and they'd probably get sick of seeing it. So I'm trying to find the balance. I'm really just trying to find the balance. That's the issue. So I don't think we'll be doing a roof stream tonight, but yeah, I'm trying to find the balance there between just the regular streams and the roof goal streams. I don't want it to burn anyone out on that. Discord is good exposure. Steph's favorite emoji. I've never met anyone who actually uses that emoji until I met Steph. Wait, do we even have... let's get our music back. Let's get our music back. What are we doing? There we go. It's my spirit animal. I hadn't updated my phone in so long that I didn't have that emoji for the longest time. I think we all agree any streams are good for us. Yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm just trying to find the I'm just trying to find a nice balance between the two. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to knock that out, but I don't want to, you know, want to try to find that balance. PC was working, we could do a roof goal stream podcast, but no, you have failed me. I'm hoping that USB will work. People with the victim mentality suffer so much longer because they literally create their own suffering brick by brick, like a rock solid wall. Couldn't agree with you more, Mary. We need to do an entire stream on that, honestly. Anyone tried leverage trading crypto while going through panic attacks? It's a good workout for your emotions, trying to keep yourself in line and not panic when it goes against you. Interesting, Max. No, I've never dabbled in the world of crypto. I can't say I've ever done that. Maybe somebody else has done that. I don't even know if crypto was a thing when I was going through panic attacks. I don't think it was. I mean, it probably was. It probably just wasn't very popular at the time. Prayed for Jesus to fix my computer stuff, but he didn't. Alright, give me a second, guys, then we'll finish this one up. Alright. Alright, let's finish this one up. We still talking about the Discord? When you stop the rumination, your real mind starts to take over and give you normal thoughts. Then you start to feel normal and rational. Kayla! Kayla! Thank you so much. I don't think I've seen that name before. Kayla, thank you so much for the 25. Show her some love in the chat, guys. Show her some love. That takes us to 36. We might actually hit the tip goal. I take that back. We might hit the tip goal. We're on a 22-day streak. We are wrapping this one up in just a minute, though. Show Kayla some love in the chat, guys. That's 36 of 50. We might hit this tip goal. Thank you so much, Kayla. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, Kayla. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I need to shave. My face is so itchy. I'm learning now, Mint, the hardest part is starting, but as soon as you have momentum, it gets easier and easier. Yes. It's all about giving all of your energy to these thoughts. Stop giving all of your energy to those thoughts. Let them be there, except when they come and go. Don't add to them. It's when you get up there and give them a ton of your energy, it turns into a problem. Steph, show Steph some love in the chat, guys. Thank you, Steph. I appreciate you. We are 4 away. We are 4 away from the tip goal. 4 away from the tip goal, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really thought we were going to end on 22 there, which would have been fine, as I said. But it looks like we might not. We might be moving on. Thank you so much. Also, don't spend all of your time reading. Yes, don't spend all of your time reading. All random conversations you drop in randomly, you won't know the context of the combo, makes you feel the need to constantly check the server for fear of missing out. Hey David, maybe Discord is your exposure. Download Discord, join us on Discord, and then accept the urge to want to check and constantly check, and then don't check, don't do the compulsion. So actually maybe you need to join us on Discord. Yep, that's how I'm selling it. That's how I'm selling it. Thank you, Steph. Thank you, Kayla. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you for all the purple hearts. I wonder, bro, how are you? Saw a video called Ups and Downs. Do you still have ups and downs? What does it mean that you won't really fully recover if you ups and downs? Because you told me you fully recover when you started your streaming, but after a while you had panic. So are you still having ups and downs, or still expecting that it may come again? I don't know who you are, but if you are who I think you are, I did tell you that I made that video, like I think it was a month or 2 into the channel, where I had a brief moment of panic. That video is still up on the channel. You can find it if you search hard enough. But ups and downs are normal during recovery, and even after you recover, you're still going to be a human being. Now, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing, I need you to understand this, because if you are who I think you are coming from a place of being so scared and frightened of anxiety and panic that you are ruminating about the fact that it might come back after you recover, and you aren't even recovered yet. This is a huge problem. This is a seriously big problem, because if you're ruminating, if you are so scared of anxiety and panic that you are ruminating about how, hear me out, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, this happens to a lot of people. If you are ruminating, I want you to listen to this. If you're ruminating about how scared you are that panic might come back after you've recovered, and you're not even close to recovering yet, that is a huge problem. You are going like way down the line and ruminating about how you're scared that panic might return, and we're not even recovered yet. That is a huge problem. You are psyching your brain out so bad by ruminating about how you're afraid that panic might come back after you've recovered, and you're not even recovered yet. That shows you how deep, right? And I'm only saying this because I want you to realize this. That shows you how deep you are into rumination, that you're ruminating about recovery and what might happen after recovery, and you're not even in recovery. That's how deep you are in the state of rumination. This has to stop if you want to reach recovery. So again, yeah, I made that video a couple months into the channel where I told people, Luis, that is tip goal. I will finish that thought in just a second. Thank you so much. I made that video like a couple months into the channel where I talked about how I had a brief moment of panic and how I was able to just brush that off and it was no big deal. If you have taken that video as now you're ruminating, oh my God, Warner Bro had some panic a couple months into the channel. He made a video about it. Oh my God, that means that I might have to deal with panic at somewhere down the line. And that means if I fully recover, then will I have to deal with panic when I fully recover? If you're doing that rumination, that is a huge problem. And that is the reason that you have not recovered yet, right? Mints, mints. Well, that does round it up to an even 55. Thank you guys for the 23-day streak. I want to break down, and thank you guys so much for the tip goal, by the way. I'm just like in the zone breaking down this comment here because I really want to help this person out. So yes, you're going to have plenty of ups and downs during the actual recovery process. So that answers your first part of the question. And the second part of your question, when you started streaming, but I had that panic and I made that video about it. Are you expecting that it may come again? Do you see how you're so deep into rumination and you're not even recovered yet, but you're ruminating about how does he think that he'll ever deal with anxiety again now that he's recovered? You're ruminating about what it's going to be like if you ruminate after recovery. This is a huge problem. But I am going to answer some of these questions, but I just want to point out something far more important than your questions, which is the fact that you are so deep in rumination that you're ruminating about how, what if you ruminate and then ruminate after you've recovered and then you ruminate? Oof. You are so deep. At some point, you got to pull out of that. At some point, you got to hold yourself responsible for that. So am I expecting that it may come again? I don't sit around and think about anxiety. I don't sit around and think about panic attacks. I don't sit around and think, will it come again? But if it did come again, I wouldn't mind because I'd know exactly what to do. Just like when I made that video a couple months into the channel where I was like, guys, I had a brief moment of panic the other day. I got on there, and that video's been so long ago, I don't remember the exact wording. But I got on there and I said something along the lines of, yeah, it came and I accepted it and I didn't ruminate about it. I moved on with my day and it was no big deal. Right? So you get what I'm saying. So I don't sit around and think about, will anxiety become a part of my life again, right? I don't sit around and ruminate about that. There's no rumination about that. But if it did, I would know exactly what to do, just like when I made that video a couple months into the channel, right? That's been years and years ago. Do I still deal with life stressors? Yes. Do I still deal with fear if situation calls for it? Yes, that's just a part of being human. But I think the main takeaway from your question is you are already ruminating about what you're going to do after recovery. You've not even gotten into recovery yet. See, that's a problem. That's really deep, man. That's really deep. But not to discourage you, everybody's really deep with their rumination. I just want to point that out. So ups and downs are mostly in recovery. Yes, ups and downs are mostly during the recovery process. And once you've recovered, you won't have many ups and downs. I mean, I recovered and then I had that moment of panic. I made a video about it a couple months into the channel. I've dealt with life stuff since I've recovered, and that's caused me stress. That's caused me stress symptoms. That's just a part of being human. But no, once you've healed the nerves to a certain degree, you're not going to go around worried about anxiety. You shouldn't be worried about anxiety now. But the point is, once you heal, yeah, you're still going to be human. You're going to deal with life stuff. You're going to deal with life stressors. I apply this advice towards life. Right? That's why I say it's good life advice, not just good anxiety advice. But I think your fear is showing. Your fear is showing a little bit. You're ruminating about how you hate anxiety so much. I want to make sure that this guy Wonderbro can tell me that once I've healed, I'll never have to deal with it again. Do you see how you're ruminating so much? I'll tell you this. I don't want to give you reassurance, but I'll tell you this. Once you've healed your nerves to a certain degree and you've got a healthy nervous system, you will not be dealing with unnecessary anxiety. You will not be dealing with intense anxiety. You will not be dealing with a ton of intrusive thoughts. You won't be dealing with that. You'll still be a human being, but yeah, you'll go back to quote unquote feeling pretty normal, right? You'll still be a human being. There's plenty of ups and downs during the recovery process. After your nervous system has become pretty healthy, you won't be dealing with a ton of unnecessary anxiety. You'll go back to feeling quote unquote normal, right? But with that being said, there's something much deeper at play here, and I know I've already spent like 15 minutes on this comment alone, but it's so important. There's something deeper at play here. You got your reassurance, right? I gave you your reassurance just now. You got it. But there's something way deeper than that. There's something way deeper than that, which is the fact that you're ruminating so deeply right now about how you're ruminating to the point that you're now ruminating about what you're going to do after recovery, and you're not even there yet. That's how deep you are in rumination at the moment, right? And this is just keeping you from recovery. That's the irony there. Once you have chronic anxiety, don't you have an anxiety disorder for life? So here's the thing. You can sensitize your nervous system and you can desensitize your nervous system. People can be more prone to being overthinkers. People can be more prone to being worriers or people that obsess. This is true, right? But if you have a sensitized nervous system, that does not mean your nerves just stay sensitized. You can desensitize your nervous system, Dr. Claire Weeks, right? So yeah, you can go from severe sensitization, to a pretty healthy nervous system. Doesn't mean that you're not going to be a person that's more prone to being a worrier, but you got the tools now, right? But you can take a sensitized nervous system and turn it into a desensitized nervous system. All right, guys. Thank you so much for the love and support. Some really, really good, interesting questions there at the end, and I hope I did my best to answer those from JB and David. Thank you for those very interesting questions. But yeah, absolutely. If you sensitize a nervous system, you can desensitize a nervous system. You might be more along the lines of a person who's more prone to worry. Just continue to use the skills, but you'll still have a healthy nervous system. But when I get triggered, my face muscles tighten. Now that I know my workmates, they know about it and that I'm cool. But before, they would always ask me if I was all right or why I was angry. Dude, I'm cool. It's just my anxiety. What's up, Pablo? I don't know if I've ever seen your name here before, but welcome to the streams, dude. Really appreciate you being here. By the way, tight muscles around eyes, eyebrows, forehead, all very common with anxiety. But anyway, thank you guys so much for helping us hit tip goal. That's a 23-day streak. Shout out to Kayla, our biggest tip of the day. Thank you, Luis and Steph and Mint, everybody else. I'm missing some names here. I know I am. Oh, and Craig. And then we got a $6 tip as well. Thank you guys so much for that. I really appreciate it. Thank you, JB and David, for the interesting questions. Glad we could clear that up. I'm sure a lot of people had the same questions. But yeah, thank you guys for everything, man. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And until next time, as always, stay awesome.